lifts the level of your self-consciousness, activates your collective security genetic code, raises your earthly vibrations. To win in this Armageddon, you must listen to Stepping into the Light with host Bish.
Boost your brand's visibility with Branding by Weeks. At Branding by Weeks, we are passionate about helping brands gain exposure and make a significant impact. Let us elevate your brand's visibility and reach new heights. Connect with us today by email at spweeks@hotmail.com or message us on WhatsApp 613-866-8939.
Island Style Souvenir and Clothing Store. We carry everything you need in souvenirs. T-shirts in all different sizes, caps, keychains, key rings, plaques and banners, magnets, ID holders, mugs, and we even carry St. Vincent flag. And that's not all. We carry Hawaiian style t-shirts and dresses, handbags with matching scarves. We also carry tie-dye dresses, shirts, and tops. Everything in our store are made right here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So come on over and check us out. We are located at the cruise ship berth in Kingston. Our telephone number 784-593-6338. That number again, 784-593-6338. It's Island Style.
Greetings and welcome to the second program for the year 2024 of Stepping into the Light. The 140th program in total at Big Hill Radio, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Concordia Radio in Canada, Fun City Radio in New York, and streamed in the region by Politically Incorrect out of Barbados. So that was our theme song, Exodus by Bob Marley, and we have to make an exodus out of the darkness and out of Babylon into the light. So Martotep to all listening and following this program worldwide. It's good to be here with you again for another program. So as per usual, we always give thanks and praises to the Almighty Creators, and we link up with our ancestors. So here we go. As they say, glory to the Word, glory to the Son, and glory to the power of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. Almighty Creators of the universe, and I give thanks for your love, for your care, and for your guidance throughout the time, and for bringing me here for another program. Continue shining the light into I and I path, as I and I step into the light and onto Mount Zion. Blessed be the high rates of His and Her Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie, and Empress Men in one perfect balance. Blessed be the high rates of I and I ancestors in Neteru, which walk alongside I and I always, keeping I and I feet from slipping and falling, I and I hands from mischief and stealing, and I mouths from slander and idle speaking. Yes, and I call on the goddess Maat and the 42 divine ones from creation to keep I and I people firmly on the 7 basic principles of truth, order, balance, harmony, law, morality, and justice. Give I and I life over death, light over darkness, mind over matter, and good over evil every time. Ashe. Ashe, Ashe. Yes, people, yes, we are here again. And we have to give thanks. We also have to give thanks to the owners and operators of Big Hill Radio, of Concordia Radio, of Fun City Radio, and of course, of Politically Incorrect. Also to the sponsors of this program, and to you, the listeners, very important, who make this program a reality. Yes, big up to you everywhere you are. Everywhere you are. Big up to all the listeners tonight. And encourage others to listen. We have a full meal in tonight's program. Full meal. And everything is easily digestible. There are no genetic modified substances in this meal. There are no health retarding foods in this meal. And there is very little, if any, imported food. Certainly no over-processed food in this meal. So you will full enjoy this meal tonight. Okay? So the happenings in brief. First of all, well, we just came out of one of the biggest full moons for the year. Yesterday, massive full moon. So I just hope that most, if not all of you, took the opportunity to pay homage to your ancestors and to do what you have to do. Use the moon and the phase of the moon to enhance your going forward in this time. Because this war we are in, this Armageddon battle here, is not a physical battle so much between flesh and blood. It's a spiritual battle. And you have to win in the spiritual to defeat your opponents in the physical. So yes, keep strong and keep steady. So we have now with us in this country, despite what was said by the Honorable Minister of Agriculture last week, that we are perilously close to food insecurity. Right now, from Ayman viewpoint, we have full-blown food insecurity in this country. You know what I mean? In this land that they call St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That's the corporate name. The actual real name for the land is Urme. Okay? We are in the process of full food insecurity. It could get worse. But it can also, and it will also get better if we adapt and follow and implement the program that you will hear on this radio, on these radios, this radio and the relay stations going forward. Yes. Right now we have several common foods which are not available at present in our markets. You can't go to the market and anyone then say you will find these foods. Okay? And some of them have been happening for quite some time. Tanyas, very, very scarce. Bananas and plantains, since the visit of our sister Helen, not Helen, our sister Hurricane that just passed Beryl, we have no plantains at the moment and no bananas. And these would not be forthcoming for another 4 to 5 months at least. Okay? Because we are in the sucker stage, sucker of the plant. Right. We have a shortage again related to Beryl, of good mangoes. Those mangoes which were saved or in little pockets where Beryl didn't go into, in inland pockets. Okay? Of course, there's a shortage of golden apple. Should be eaten lots of golden apples this year. That not abundant at all. We have a shortage of breadfruit, good breadfruit. We have some breadfruit, but the knocks they got during that storm, they what we normally call breadfruited blue. Lots of things. So the shelf life is very short. And the quantities are small, much smaller than in a normal year. Plums also. Well, for sure we have had a shortage of citrus for quite a long time, particularly limes and lemons. There are a few oranges here and there, and they won't last long. Some coming out of the Spring Village area. And I haven't seen grapefruit in a long time. So citrus has been taking a beating for quite a long time. We have poor quality in sweet potatoes. Yes, we're going to address that subsequently and in detail in one of these meetings, why farmers have been getting, apart from the reducing acreage, low poor quality in sweet potatoes. We have poor quality in imported foods of garlic and onions. And these are two commodities which you're going to be hearing a lot more as yours truly and his linkages have a plan to make this country self-sufficient in garlic and onions within the next 2 years, 2 to 3 years maximum. Okay? Onions will come before garlic because onions could be planted directly from seed. But the garlic, to get the garlic acreage up, we will have to do some bulking up. You will hear more details about that as we go forward. We're also facing very high costs of other foods. Very high costs of other foods. Even things like okra. Someone told me they bought 6 okra in a bag for $5. 6 okras in a bag for $5. That's how it getting. That's how ridiculous this has gotten. We still have high levels of predial larceny. Probably the highest in our history. We still have very high levels of predial larceny. So that farmers, and you cannot blame them too much, harvest quite a lot of their produce just before maturity. They can't afford to leave it up until the point of real harvesting maturity so that they'll have a better shelf life. Otherwise, they would go and just meet the empty tree or empty root. That's how it goes in this country. The amazing thing is that nobody has been arrested or is being arrested. Okay? By the system. We also have high levels of exotic pests and diseases. And we're going to spend some time, a little in this program, but more in other programs to tell you how and why these came. These exotic pests mean that they are not pests which are indigenous to this country or even the region. And diseases, right? We are facing a continual and a reduction in acreage of arable lands. And continuous reduction in the acreage of arable land. And this has to be addressed at the national level, meaning the people have to say collectively, we must put a stop to that. And the collective voice of the people in a real true and fair and just system is always greater and more powerful than those who are elected to lead. Always more powerful. That is why we have to base our things on the first 7 principles that were set down on this earth, set down by our people, Maat and the 42 divine ones. Justice must be done. Must be done. And of course, we have the underfunding, and if I may add, the deliberate underfunding of the agricultural sector. We've been having that for decades. Okay? So we're going to look at the need for a true and meaningful development approach to food and agriculture in this country. That's what we're going to look at. The need for a true and meaningful development approach to food and agriculture in this country. Now, what have we been having now? We've been having an attempt by the government, present government. They have a response, which is coming out of the Ministry of Agriculture, and something is always better than nothing. So they've been having it nationwide. It started last week, Monday. They had Monday. They had Wednesday. They had Friday. Friday was in Iman neck of the woods. It was held at the Bookament Bay Government School. Okay? And that was a venue that was chosen at the last minute. The first venue was supposed to be the Peniston playing field. But these things happen, so no one is blaming anyone for that. The important thing is that the meeting was held. Started late, scheduled to start at 11 a.m. It actually started at 12:45. But farmers were there, and farmers were patient, and farmers all over this country are yearning for something positive, something which they could hold on to, something which they could work with to go forward. But they haven't been getting that. They've been getting lots and lots of promises and old talk over the last maybe 30 years, nothing going forward. Okay. So the meeting was attended by farmers, Ministry of Agriculture officials, ministry officials from the UBEC Food Insecurity Project, and they are from the Ministry of Finance and Planning. Today, I know that meeting, yesterday they went to North Leeward at Cumberland, and today they're supposed to be in the Grenadines. They're supposed to have finished the Grenadines. As reported, Union Island, Canouan, Beckway. Tomorrow, hopefully, they want to go to Green Hill. Right, okay? Now, based on what I heard in the meeting, our meeting, and based on what people who attended other meetings have told me, all the meetings carry the same message. And apparently, the public, which is not so easily fooled in this time, thankful for that, was very skeptical and is very skeptical about certain things being said and where they are done, and are a little more vocal onto what is really needed. The unfortunate thing about these meetings is that none of them could have been held in a facility owned or controlled by any grouping of farmers anywhere in this country. Nowhere in this entire country. As I said, from Petty St. Vincent and Palm Island in the south to Fancy in the north, farmers do not own one building, one piece of infrastructure collectively where such gatherings could be held. That's a hard one to swallow. That's a hard one to swallow. After slavery of 40 odd years, from 1795 right up to 1838, and from colonialism from that time right up to 1979, independence, and from independence to now, which is about 44 years, farmers who have produced the bulk of wealth in this country, wealth which has mainly gone to other countries, particularly Great Britain. The farmers collectively own no building, no infrastructure, whether in the city or the cities or the rural areas, which they could call their own, to have a meeting of this level. Anyway, the main message of these meetings, according to the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, were basically two. One, to give out inputs to farmers who responded by requesting from the UBEC food program, UBEC program for food insecurity. And again, from the start, I questioned that term, that name for the project, food insecurity. And it is explaining to everyone now why it's called food insecurity. Because we're getting further and further into food insecurity. Despite programs like these, not well funded, couldn't be because they didn't have the basic data. There has no census been done since the last one published in 2000. So they didn't know, we don't know where we are. And if you don't know where you are, where you're coming from, you could hardly say where you're going. Fact. Ask the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. Look at his reading, his writings. So that project, farmers had requested certain immediate inputs. And when they finished sorting it out, they decided that this is the time to distribute most of these inputs to farmers. And the second message of the meeting was for farmers affected by the drought or the dry period of this year and Hurricane Beryl, the damage done, to register their names on a list to receive support later on in the year, or maybe even into early next year. Okay? So those basically, according to the official statement of the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, were those two messages. He also mentioned other things, that there will be free tractor services to all farmers starting from Monday next. And for people who are farming lands which cannot be prepared by tractor, well, to me, this one is a difficult one to say that farmers are farming lands which cannot be prepared by tractor, because we know, and I know, that there are tractors of all sizes and shapes these days. So even though you have a half-acre of land on a 22-degree slope somewhere, since you are getting to that land, the tractor should be able to get to that land, a walk behind tractor. But apparently these are not being taken into consideration here for some reason. So anyway, people who have to use manual land preparation, the ministry will assist them by the extension officer verifying that it is so, getting the name of the workers and preparing a voucher where each worker will be paid $60 per person per day. But this has a limit in terms of the number of person days that could be done depending on the farm size. Okay? We will get to that limit in a while. He said the Ministry of Agriculture will buy seedlings from farmers who have seedlings. The ministry will buy from them to distribute to other farmers. Now this one had me laughing hard to myself, and I will tell you why just now. And also the Ministry of Agriculture expects to get 10,000 sacks of fertilizers from Morocco, and may also get several thousand sacks of urea from Venezuela. And on mentioning the latter, the urea, in the meeting I attended at Bookament, there was a big no, especially from the women farmers. No, we don't want that again. And I was very pleased with that reaction, because the farmers are waking up to these things which are worthwhile and these things which are not worthwhile. Now, why did I laugh on the seedlings issue? If you recall properly, those who were following the agricultural sector in this country for some time and following my programs over the several years, we got a financing for our last agricultural diversification effort called the BAM, BAM, Banana Adjustment Measures, from the European Union of 10 million euros to be spent over 5 years, 2014 to 2019, to cover just what it says, banana adjustment measures, to adjust our agricultural sector to the decline in the banana production marketing to diversify the agricultural sector, uh, to include also bananas, but to have a more diversified and balanced agricultural sector. And one of the major planks of that program, by request from this country, was the development of and the installation of what they call greenhouse parks, which will produce seedlings. These are nurseries, greenhouse nurseries, which will produce seedlings to supply farmers in this country whenever they need, vegetable seedlings particularly. Okay. Now, you probably heard me say this already several times on these programs. Yours truly told them at the time, these nurseries should be placed in areas which are environmentally suitable for them, agro-environmentally suitable for them. And not just anywhere, but you know, politicians have their own reasoning of their own. They don't reason like people who have no office to run for and who are basing their findings and their sayings on real science. They base it on political opportunity. So lo and behold, the nursery, the greenhouse park we had was placed in an area which is one of the most humid areas in this country. The Marico Valley, and not just the Marico Valley, high up in the Marico Valley at the foothills of the Grand Bonham and Petty Bonham Mountains. Right? Up in a place we call Richland Park, up in that area there. Majorca, not Majorca. We're up in the Richland Park Valley anyway. Okay? So what happened is that no seedlings have been produced commercially to date, none. And people, including a lot of school children, I tell you, I love Campton school children. I just love these Campton school children. Nobody will be able to fool them in a while, you know. No. I said, Bish, well, if we don't get a seedling, what happened to the money? I said, that is a $7 question. Beautiful question. I will try and get an answer for you. ASAP. So here we have our Honorable Minister telling farmers all over the country that the Minister of Agriculture will buy seedlings from farmers who have. Now these farmers who have put up their infrastructure, their nurseries on their own, out of their own pockets. Whether they did it cash or they had to borrow by loan or whatever, they did it as a business on their own. They didn't have any part of the 10 million euros to do it. This went to the state, but the state has no seedlings after all that has been spent. They have no seedlings and they have no proper finished agricultural reception depots, which is something that was said that we're going to provide agricultural reception depots at the meeting last night in North Leeward. They should have been provided already from that funding. So when the school children ask me that question, I know the $7 question. I tell them I will find out as soon as possible. But some of them already have an inkling into where the money went. They already have an inkling. Okay? Now, what happened? Several people spoke in that meeting, including the representative from the Ministry of Finance, where the project funds are being disbursed from. And some of the other things coming out in the meeting is that farmers under 1 acre who register a complaint, like whether it's from the drought or whatever, all farmers will be given a cash voucher. But here this cash voucher cannot be spent anywhere. You will not be given cash, you will be given a cash voucher. Now, you see that principle? A lot of times, a lot of us wish that that principle was the principle used to give a lot of the governments around here that money from outside. Give them a voucher, don't give them any cash. And then things might go plenty better. You know? So this voucher could only be used at the farmers' input office building in Kingston, the National Input building there. That's down at Lower Bish Street, opposite Randy's supermarket down there, right? The input shed. Only there you can go and get things using this voucher. Smallest acreage of farmers under 1 acre will get a voucher for $500 each. Farmers from one acre to 2 acres will get a voucher for $1,000 each. Farmers from 2 acres to 3 acres will get a voucher for 15 to 5 acres will get a voucher for $1,500 each. And farmers from 5 acres and up will get a voucher for $2,000 each. That's the limit. Okay? Anything you need more than the voucher, you would have to pay for it. If you go there and you carry your voucher and you say you have a voucher for $1,000 and the inputs you ask for is come up to $700, you would have still $300 left of credit left on your voucher, which you can take in inputs at any time. That is how it's supposed to go. Okay? Now, what I noticed is that there was the technical people of the Ministry of Agriculture spoke also. And what I noticed is that there was a difference. It wasn't harmony. They were not meshing. What the politicians said, the technical people did not say the same thing. They were not harmonizing. The technical people were, of course, speaking from a technical perspective. And unfortunately, the politicians were speaking from a political perspective. And they were not meshing. And the people saw that. And that disturbed a lot of people. Because when you get these cross talks, then it's the people who suffer. One example is that, and this was very evident according to people who went to the meeting last night in North Leeward. The technical people were speaking and are speaking, I don't know if they did that in Grenada today, about going forward with an organic farming approach, mainly. Which, as I look at it, is a very good thing. We're going to get into a lot of that later in the program, because our soils need biological healing, just like how our bodies need biological healing. And the minister, honorable minister, not blaming him, I'm just saying what he said, is speaking about getting 10,000 sacks of inorganic fertilizer from Morocco. We got a grant like that already at least once. And also getting some urea from Venezuela. Now, the farmers correctly said, not that stuff you brought the last time, which was totally degraded, even though you're bringing try to bring something good, totally degraded and could only do harm, damage to our soil at this time when people claim that they are going forward in terms of climate change and environmental damage. You can't say one thing out of your mouth and do the opposite the next day. It don't make sense, it don't make dollars, it don't make nothing. It's pretty, as the people say. Right? We're not going down that road. The farmers are awake to that. And big up to the women farmers who spoke up. The men were just grumbling and the women farmers spoke up and said that. I know this is the time of the female energy is riding high. And let it continue to ride high. So that was one of the conflicting things. The other thing which did not come out, and it should have come out in the North Leeward meeting, and nobody is too big to apologize. Neither of the ministers who were there and the area representative were there. None of them offered one word of regret. Maybe let me not even say that what I'm going to say, right? To the farmers, the community of North Leeward, in particular Richmond, for the loss of 60 acres of agricultural land to a so-called quarry. And by recent reports, recent as today, the amount of soil that they have to move, which was evident by the report done by Professor Ahmad in 2004, that survey, soil survey, and by the report, the evidence spoken of by yours truly several years ago, and even to recently, you have to move hundreds of thousands of tons of soil to meet any rock. Does it make sense? We are the first country in the world to have a soil quarry. Not just a soil quarry, but a fertile soil quarry. And from all reports, they're dumping that soil on arable land belonging to other people, which no doubt will contaminate the people because they are going to farm and farm some delicate crops very soon. So the whole mix-up in the area. Total unwanted and uncalled for mix-up in that area. So we have a lot to go. We have a big way to go. Big way to go in this country to get where we need to get in as short a time as possible. Even following the same program and the same policy outlined to and signed on by this government at the CARICOM level to reduce our food imports by 25% by 2025. Well, we know that's not possible the way they're going. As a matter of fact, they have abandoned trying to reach that milestone. Because now it's 2024 and 2/3. And end of 2025 is about 17 months down the road. Right? 16, 17 months down the road. So they can't make it. But we the people know that once we work together and in harmony, we can get what we need to make a big headway into that. Right? There are some commodities that we wouldn't be able to achieve in that time, but there are other commodities that we can make more than 25% reduction in the imports by that time. And there are other commodities which we produce here where we could double the production by that time. So we have to formulate our own program and go ahead and do that in order for us to live in peace and harmony in this country. Yes, we need to do that. If we don't do that, as the children say, crap will smoke your pipe. And in these days and these times going forward, it would be disastrous if you allow a couple to smoke your pipe. Right? We have to be talking about pipes. We have to watch what we put in our pipes now. Because these things they're bringing here and calling them medical marijuana, which they are growing in soilless medium. Couple could smoke all of them for my part. Because them ain't going in our pipe. No way. No way. That leads me to the final comment on these meetings, which again is, well, to I is the laugh of the week so far. The honorable representative for the area it is reported, said that in the meeting last night, that he is happy and pleased with the traditional ganja marijuana farmers of North Leeward. Listen to this. Who have given up the production of marijuana and are now planting food. Now, let me give you the real situation in North Leeward, as reported by North Leeward people and as seen by I up to several months ago. Hardly any food is being planted in North Leeward now. Hardly any food. It's just the real hard willed people, the people who go there despite what, and strong-willed, and nobody going to stop them from doing this, planting food or growing crops, because they face, I don't think there's another community of farmers who face hardships as North Leeward. Apart from the climatic hardships they face, from the man-made climate change, they face all the problems that we have in this country at a higher level than most other farmers. All the problems, the social and the scientific problems, they face that. And the infrastructural problems, they face that. So, if anyone is to give kudos to them, it's to that. But here the laughable part for those of us who have ears to hear and eyes to see in this thing. And I tell you, I just love these Campton children. They say, but wait, them stop planting marijuana in North Leeward, the traditional farmers. But the market not stop. So who control the market now? Where the money gone? I say, you children, you just asked me a $7 question a while ago, and now you come with this $9 question. You expect I could answer them things so easy? I ought to find them out. So to be up to $100 million, around not $100 million, yeah, $100 million approximately a year. Anything between $70 and $100 million a year that used to come in this country from marijuana exports. When they say it was illegal, but not unlawful. Remember that. Okay? Since they lost the market now, everybody tell you, who has it? No, the market not lost. The market itself is there, but the farmers, the suppliers, traditional for farmers do not control any of that. So apparently the minister is pleased with that. Okay? But we know that food is a priority. Monty, you saying something? Oh. We know that food is a priority, and a lot of farmers, I know, the greater majority of farmers who grow marijuana grow food, and grow more food than marijuana, because they know that food is a priority. So that statement rings hollow. Any way you look at it. So yes, what we're going to do is basically spend the rest of this program speaking about the way forward. The way forward, that is what we're going to do. We didn't come here to complain. We just came here to show that we understand and overstand what is happening, what is on the ground, and to paint the way forward. Okay? Before I go to paint the way forward, I want to give you, and before we take the break, I want to give you the biodynamic planting by the moon phase guide for the period Wednesday the 21st August, that's tomorrow, to Tuesday the 27th August, next Tuesday 2024, okay? You must get this one out before we take the break, because when we come to take the break, it's just solution to the pollution. So remember, if there will be things important, get your pens and your pencil out to take some jottings. And I would not go as fast on some items as I would. I will give you a chance to note them because we have to work together. It's only organization and centralization, a team effort could get us out of this darkness so we could step into the light. And by the way, stepping is a form of dance. Eh? So when we step into the light, is the natural dance we do it. We're dancing in the spirit. But we also dancing physically into the light. Okay, here we go with the biodynamic planting by the moon phase guide for that period. From next day to next Tuesday. Today's the 20th of August. Tomorrow is August the 21st. We are into the phase of the moon called the waning gibbous. The moon was full on Monday, the 19th. It can't get any more fuller than that. So right now, what it's doing, it's waning, but it's still in the gibbous form, the rounded form, and it will wane right down until next Monday, the 26th, when it will be the last quarter. So it waxes in the crescent form up from the last quarter, right up to the full moon, in the gibbous form rather. And now it's waning in the gibbous form down to the last quarter next Monday. And the major recommendation for this time is to plant your below ground plants. Anything that baby grow ground. Best time of the moon to plant it. Best phase is this time. Okay? Best phase from yesterday, today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Okay? Anything that baby grow ground. All the root crops. Yam, dasheen, tanya, edo, sweet potato, cassava, peanuts, arrowroot, you name it. Ginger, anything that could be planted now, turmeric, anything that could be planted now that will bear. Right? It's also a good time to plant trees. So if you have young tree plants to put in, okay? Shrubs and perennials, things that will bear for a long time, mango, coconut, these sort of things, this week is a good time to plant them in. Okay? You're planting your ornamentals for your flowers, for your fencing and so on, your hibiscus and all these things, your shrubs and so on. This time is a good thing to plant them in. You're planting your medicinal trees like your moringa and noonie and other things. This is a good week to plant them in. But it's also a good time to harvest crops. Harvesting of food is good in this time. To fertilize your fields. Yes, a lot of the fertility work should be done in this phase. And of course, you can still transplant your seedlings. Transplant your seedlings. And you could mow your lawns and prune your trees. All that is well recommended for this phase. Okay? So make sure that you do some part of that. Some part of that in this week. Some part of that should be done in this week. Some people even plant pigeon peas up to 2 days after the full moon, which likely would be today. Tomorrow rather. Okay? You could still try that. But if you have seedlings which have been hardened, you can transplant them in this week. If you have plant coconut trees or whatever, citrus, whatever, nutmeg, whatever tree seedlings you have, you could put them in at this time. Any underground plants, tanya slips, yam, sprouts, yam that sprouted, anything at all you need to put in under the ground, this phase of the moon is putting them in best. Because in this phase of the moon, because of the moon's energy and what is happening, there is now a downward pull into the moon, into the earth. And that is why it favors ground plants below the ground. Okay? That is what is happening in this moon phase, what they call waning gibbous. The moon now is inhaling, the earth now is inhaling rather than exhaling. It was the upward movement before the full moon, now it's a downward movement. So when you do that, the life force in the food gets into the food. And whoever eats the food is eating more nutritious food if that same food was planted in a different moon phase, which does not harmonize well with this one. So that is why I'm giving you this information. Everything in nature works in harmony to bring the best out. It's not a Vikey thing where you say, oh, you could chuck this anytime because rain come. Not so. The creators of this universe and this world didn't make it by guessing and by chance. That's why they are called the Almighty Creators. They made it by their own spiritual science, the highest level, for us to work in harmony. And when you work in harmony, and you do this, that is why they prevent sickness and diseases. That's how we have to go. And we have to produce the kind of food in the region and consume the kind of food in the region which prevents the proliferation of sickness and diseases and promotes the proliferation of good health. Because one of our biggest enemies in the entire region is what they call big pharma. The people who have all the money in these pharmacies where they only make these things to treat you and not to cure you, they want to have us on a string. They want to have us on a chain in their value chain. And our ancestors had too many centuries of that. We're not going there again. So we have to produce our best quality foods at this time and trade these products with our neighbors to and from so that they can enjoy the same health as us. Okay? I think I will stay here a little for some stations ID, and when we come forward, we get right into the way forward.
www.bayhillnews.net is the parent body of Bay Hill News Network. We do Facebook Live for church service, funeral service, lecture, sporting activity. For more, contact at bayhillnewsnetwork@gmail.com or call 1784-529-8340.
Boost your brand's visibility with Branding by Weeks. At Branding by Weeks, we are passionate about helping brands gain exposure and make a significant impact. Let us elevate your brand's visibility and reach new heights. Connect with us today by email at spweeks@hotmail.com or message us on WhatsApp 613-866-8939.
Hi friends, what's happening in your corner? Beta group meeting, a sporting activity, a community activity, some upcoming event. Whatever is happening in your corner, let us know. We'll share it on Concardi Radio. So email us at concardi.radio@gmail.com. That's CANCARDI.radio@gmail.com. We are in your corner.
Island Style Souvenir and Clothing Store. We carry everything you need in souvenirs. T-shirts in all different sizes, caps, keychains, key rings, plaques and banners, magnets, ID holders, mugs, and we even carry St. Vincent flag. And that's not all. We carry Hawaiian style t-shirts and dresses, handbags with matching scarves. We also carry tie-dye dresses, shirts, and tops. Everything in our store are made right here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So come on over and check us out. We are located at the cruise ship berth in Kingston. Our telephone number 784-593-6338. That number again, 784-593-6338. It's Island Style.
Join your host, Ross Bishai, for Stepping into the Light at Bihill Online Radio and Kankadi Radio. Ross Bishai steps into the light of food and agriculture, culture and liberty. Stepping into the light lifts the level of your self-consciousness, activates your collective security genetic code, raises your earthly vibrations. To win in this Armageddon, you must listen to Stepping into the Light with host Ross Bishai.
Yes, people, yes, people. The way forward, the way forward. The way forward has to be properly thought out, properly understood and overstood, and properly implemented as a team. Because who we are battling against and what we are battling against, the forces of darkness in the region I'm speaking about. And I know my politically incorrect family is listening. Love you people, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. Love me Vincy people too. Real, real tapa tapa. Right? Is that we as a people have been subjected to certain spell language by these people and spell actions. Anytime you hear any using the word targeted and the phrase value chain, there are sinister meanings in these things. We cannot be the target of these people anymore. We have been targeted for generations and we've still been targeted. That is why we are in this dire situation that we are in. And we now have to remove ourselves from targets, from being a target. And we have been chained in all forms, physically and mentally, and with other socially, and with other even religiously chained. So we have to free ourselves of these chains. And only yourself could free yourself, free your mind, get out of these chains, right? So the way forward, we need the creation and operationalization and proper functioning of farmers and farming family organizations at the community level, at the agricultural district level, at the agricultural region level, and at the national level. In this country here, we have several communities. So the first thing is to have it started at the community level. And we have 9 agricultural districts. In another program, I'll give you where the boundaries are. I know they start from North Leeward. District 1 comes right up from District 1 right up to Leyu. I think it's somewhere around Barley. And then District 2 comes right up to Vermont. And District 3 is from there right up to Garden Gate. And District 4 is so big, it goes from Garden Gate to out Calico Brighton, and it's divided into District 4A and B. District 5 is the Maricourt Valley. District 6 goes right up to Diamonds and Lauders and these areas and so on. Chapmans. District 7 goes right up to Rabaca. District 8 is over the river. District 9, the Grenadines. Now we have 9 districts, so we need organization, the creation of an organization of proper functioning farmers and farming family organizations First at the community level, then grouping together at the district level, then grouping together at the region level. The agricultural regions, 3 regions. Each region has 3 districts. 1, 2, and 3. This region 1, 2, and 3. District 1, 2, and 3 is region 1. District 4, 5, and 9 is region 2. And district 6, 7, and 8 together form region 3. And then the collective of these 3 regions now will form the national, would be the organization at the national level. So that information flows from the community up to the national level, and from the national level right down to the community. Okay? The nitty-gritty and specifics we will get into in different programs. But that basically is the formulation of the organization we need. We need, and need is in big letters, bold letters, to take this country, agriculture, food and agriculture forward. Failing to do that, we're wasting time. And we will only fall victims to and be enslaved by big pharma and the few people out there who control the politicians all over this region, the political parties. Some of them are so powerful that they control both opposition and government in several countries. And they choose who they want to govern and administer when they feel like. So most of us going to the polls in these countries make very little sense. Most of us don't know that, make very little sense. Because in most times the outcome already decided. It's only when you revolutionize your mind and you decide to do it differently that you will make a different outcome. But for right now, we are like captives in this whole political game they're playing in the region. So what are the requirements or needs of this, creating this and operationalization, the proper functioning farmers and farm family organizations? First of all, farmers organizations which are not controlled, that's one requirement, it's not controlled by or subjected to government directives, nor are too dependent on any corporate government, for example, like the one here. Only one across the waters there, also style in Barbados or in Grenada. Why? Because what they say is what they have been told to say by their finances outside. It doesn't come from them. It's not germane and original of them. The few who tried that in the past, because they were not grounded with the people, were quickly pulled over the coals and show, look, if you don't do this, this will happen. And they cowered out of it. They got so coward and so fearful that they didn't even have the confidence in being able to mesh with the people, source of at home and in the wider region, to put up some resistance to it. They just cowered out. And here we are, as a region, as a people, the CARICOM region, the biggest per capita importers of over-processed foods in the world. Here we are, sick. And some people say sick like a dog from non-communicable diseases. Yep. And you can see it. You've seen it in St. Vincent this week. Yeah, people who consume all these things moving from one country to the next, they're looking for treatment, when each country should have the treatment. And the treatment comes mainly from nature, following natural things. Okay? Second thing is a level of consciousness among the food and agriculture population to allow for people to be ready to make this move. The people, all people here have to develop a level of consciousness, self-consciousness, especially people among the food and agriculture population. Those who produce, those who transport, those who add value two, those who market, those who consume, those who finance, all these people have to find a level of consciousness among them to be ready to make this move. And the consciousness must include knowing what they're up against internationally. Because if we do not produce this food and this quantity and quality of food, we are slowly going to be poisoned off the earth to an extent where they won't poison all of us because they need our labor and our strength and our energy to do certain things which they will not do for themselves. But the majority will be so. And we will be just like human robots. No independent thought, no independent will, no collective view, no collective working, just another new generation of slaves. And we can't go there, people. We cannot go there. We owe it to our future generations to get it right in this one. There's no other way to say it. We owe it. So let us make the move now and make it collectively. Okay? We also need requirements and need the development training agenda is needed for building a cadre of people who will be able to manage these organizations effectively and efficiently within the medium term. And when I say the medium term, I'm talking about 2 to 3 years at the most. We need to have, if there are people who are so trained now, we need to identify them. And if there are people who, we know there are people who have the capacity to take this training. And who are, but we just don't need the capacity, we need the desire to be trained like that way because it has to come from the heart. The article thing. We have to start to identify them and make sure that they come forward and we start the training properly, promptly. Whether you are a country that is a major producer of regional food or a country that is a major marketer and consumer of regional food. For example, the long historical bond we have, we at this country here, human, has with our people across the water, east of us, Barbados. That has been here before any European set foot in these regions. Long before, because they always think of things in a linear way. That's why they're always speaking about change. They thought, their ancestors thought not too long ago that if they came too far across this ocean, this Atlantic, they would fall over a cliff. It's not until our melanated people explain to them that the earth is similar to other bodies in the cosmos, which are globe-shaped, and there is and of the gravity, there is no falling off. There is no falling off. That they agreed to be piloted. And I'm speaking, you won't find this in a history book. You'll find it in history written in people like I and others, hearts and minds and head, that they were able to come across here because Columbus didn't come across here by himself. The Moors brought him across here. He didn't know where he was going. When he realized he reached here, he said, oh, this was land there. And that's why he called it the West Indies, because he wanted to go to the East India. But he came west. He was brought west. Anyway, these are the people who we are up against. Right? So we need to build a cadre of people who will be able to manage these organizations effectively. And because they are organized on the business side, we have to be organized on our business side to be able to hold our own and even to better their business and make sure that their business does not engulf us to the point where we are too dependent on them or even dependent on them. We could trade with them, but we must trade on an equal footing. We also need a team of trainers tutors with the ability and desire to carry out this training. So apart from the people who we need to be trained to identify, we need a team of trainers and tutors with the ability and desire to carry out this training. And these people don't have to reside in this country, not where the technology is. They could reside anywhere in the Caribbean or even in the diaspora. And the technology is available now to get the training directly to the people here. All sort of ways. Okay? And we have people who master this technology and mistress this technology. Okay? We also need a proper funding source to finance this training. And remember the emphasis on proper. Because the funding sources we have now, including where the so-called UBEC grant came from, is not really interested in the real development of the people of the region in agriculture. Not at all. These things are just cosmetic things to make you feel that they're interested while they're pushing their own agenda. It doesn't go past that. We are interested in our own genuine development as a people. From each country, nation, the nation gathering of nations, to the entire region, where we have the harmony of all the nations. We are interested in our own development. And we have to take that in our hands and go with it. Okay? That is why I and a few others have created this business called Nature Eye, which I explained in the last meeting. Okay? And Nature Eye is in the process right now of linking with like-minded and very humanitarian and scientific, naturally scientific organizations and people, businesses outside of the region to make a massive regional and international development imprint in this region. Details of which you will get soon on this same program. So you have to stay tuned to these radio stations in order to get. But it's already in the move, in the making, and it will be manifested soon. Okay? Now, in terms of the functioning and responsibilities of this grouping, remember that the people and the countries from which all this imported food in the region are coming from are well organized. They're not doing this by guess. They're doing this by design. They have their producers who are well financed and in many cases well subsidized. Never mind what you hear otherwise, well subsidized. Because when you analyze the whole political economy of agriculture, of food and agriculture, both in the region and their country, the way they have it designed is to use food as a weapon, food and food trade as weapons to subjugate the people in this region and subjugate the people in this country. Right? Because they need this country for other things, to them much more important than food and agriculture. They want it to be their playground, or the people want. And they also want it to be an area where wealth is still extracted from the efforts of the people. So it's a modern slave area of modern slavery. But we do want neither of those two things. Our tourism must be harmonized with our agriculture. Our tourism in the region has to be based principally on our food and agriculture, apart from our natural beauty and our natural assets and our services Because if we as a region collectively cannot have our tourism sector consume what they consume as their food here, at least 70% of it comes from the region. All we're doing is enriching the outside. We're just losing money. We're playing lose or win, which is giving away our resources. We cannot be afford. We cannot afford to be importing food to feed tourists. No. When we are told and when we know deep down in the tourist mind, they come here for an experience, a different experience, which includes our food and our culture. So we have to make sure that in food producing countries and in food marketing countries, for example, again, I go to the relationship between the historic relationship between Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which was started by ordinary people, not by any government, by ordinary people doing business, and then by the de jure governments of the indigenous peoples of both countries. Same thing between here and Trinidad. That is why the late Dr. Our good author there from the Grenadines, right? Edgar Adams could have written his book linking the golden anchor to the silver chain. The golden anchor being the land and agriculture, and the silver chain being the transporting system among the islands. So our food production here is as important to us as the importing and marketing of our food in a high tourism area like Barbados, because they are feeding tourists. They do not have the natural ability to produce the food required to feed the tourists in their country, because they have a different soil structure than us, right? But we twin with us, and they have been twinning with us to take our foods and satisfy their market. So we have the market is shared jointly between us. We are the producers and they are the marketers of the same food. And both of us gain from it. These are the linkages I'm speaking about. Several. Same thing in Trinidad. And they also consume some of the food. So we and them would be on the same health level, consuming the same health food. And the tourists coming in will realize that the food they're getting in the Caribbean is much better health-wise than the food they're getting outside. So it strengthens both our agriculture and our culture, which includes our tourism. And everyone wins. That is where we have to go. But we would not go so if we rely too much on this corporate government system, which takes its orders from outside, and where the outside orders are a direct opposite of the direction in which we want to go. So we have to be brave enough, we have to be woman enough, we have to be man enough to stand up individually, stand up collectively in the communities, stand up collectively in the regions, whether you call them parishes or districts, stand up collectively in the nations and say, this is the way we are going, we are not going that way. And to go this way, this is what we have to do, and this is what we have to build. Otherwise, as I said, it's better you give your wrapping paper and your pipe to the couple. Yeah, wasting time. Okay? So we have to build now, we have to use now what is called a different tool, which is the use of a commodity systems assessment methodology. Commodity Systems Assessment Methodology, CSAM, and use a commodity systems approach. Now, this approach, which I'm going to explain to you in some detail, was developed by a gentleman, I hope he's still alive, but one of the few good people I met in international and regional organizations. One of the few. One of the few. His name is Dr. Jerry Lagra. He was head of IEICA in the region in the 1990s. And we developed a very good personal relationship, and we shared some insights and some facts which they're not published anyway. But he knew that I knew what was happening, and I knew that he knew what was happening. And we had total agreement in some very, very vital areas. And this system that he developed, that he published, was mainly geared from his work in East Asia, working with the Koreans and the Vietnamese, taking them from almost impossible situations to a high, which they took from a high level, from impossible situations to being a high level. You know that these two countries went through terrible wars, not between them, but by international people. Okay? So they had to build from that level. And right now, they're doing pretty well. Pretty well. Never mind what you hear. So we have to adopt this system and get rid of this value chain targeted production system they're speaking about from the people who say they gave us grants in the region. Okay? Now, just before I get into that, listen to the absurdity of this thing. We all know in the region, we all know. It's no secret now because we have scientists in every field at the highest level. And our people, our melanated people, our African people, were the first people on this earth to develop science. As a matter of fact, we gave sciences to the world, one of the things we gave to the world. So when it comes to rare science, no one could fool us. Our scientists in the meteorological area and who deal with climate and so on know and can prove and have proved that Hurricane Beryl was interfered with. It was geoengineered. Now the reasons I would not get into because they could be speculative in some areas, right? And there could be a few. But it was geoengineered. Having done damage mainly to Grenada, the Grenadines, and some parts of mainland St. Vincent. The same people who fund this geoengineering are the same people who lend money and who invest money to the World Bank and so on. So here we have this damage being done. Countries like this who have gone through centuries of plantation slavery with no compensation to our foreparents, our ancestors, and have most of the lands in the region now placed what they call under the crown. But we know that the crown doesn't match up. It's just that the government is holding on to the remnants of it and figure that the people don't know, so they're stretching out the time. Right? But the only crown we have now, the only real crown we have in the Caribbean now is what the Rastafari have on the head, male or female. That's the crown. Right? And some people have it in the heart. That's the crown. Right. Here they have this smart idea now of having done that damage, use that natural system to bioengineer to cause that damage, have the effrontery to come around and offer our government here a loan, not a grant, a loan of $63 million to repair the damage. And that is just to impoverish and financially tie up this generation and the next generation of people, because they're the ones who will have to pay it back. And to see our politicians smiling about that, like if that is some achievement, I tell you, we have some real sick. You talk about non-communicable diseases. A false pride, it had to be one of the biggest one, even bigger than obesity and diabetes. That false pride and falseness among our regional politicians. So we are going to implement the commodity systems approach. It was done here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines before. Now, where we are here, where are we going to start? We have to start somewhere. So I'm starting with the assessment of the last census, which is the real official information that we have. The 2000 census reported that we here had a total land area of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 38,785 hectares. Okay? And of that, some 7,202 hectares at the time were currently used for agriculture. Now, a hectare is about 2.47 acres. So when you really suss it out and multiply it out, what you were getting at the time, okay, is 17,788.9 acres. That is the area that we had in agriculture in the year 2000, this country. The sector at the time contributed 10.6% of GDP. From the last budget we had, the last two budgets, agriculture was only contributing 4% of the GDP. Now, some people might say the percentage doesn't mean much, except because the GDP would have changed. But when you really check it out, they claim that we had a GDP not too long ago of about $1 billion. 4% of that is 40 million. Okay? If we were still achieving the 10% of that, it would have been 400 million. 10.6, 460 million. Okay? But right now, our agriculture is producing, that's our agriculture earnings, is producing less than $30 million a year. That's where we are. That's where we are. So see how far we are falling. At the time, the government strategy, that is at 2000, was then, at the time, to promote agricultural diversification and tourism. Agricultural diversification and tourism. Okay? So, it says the major component of the government's agricultural diversification policy framework, that is at the 2000. No, this is even before 2000. Include export development, food and nutrition security, and import substitution. And this was the agricultural diversification plan of 1997. Let me repeat that again, what was said in 1997, which was written. The major component of the government's agricultural diversification policy. Because what was happening at that time is that since 1993, when Britain joined the single European market, our banana exports became threatened by open competition, and our earnings, our annual agricultural earnings, which were principally based on banana export, were falling sharply. So in order to counter that, everyone agreed that we have to diversify our agriculture, spread it out. Like if you're saying playing football, soccer, instead of crowding everybody in the middle of the field now, you're playing line. So the wings overlapping and you're spreading the ball wide. So when it crossing now, you have more chance to score. That is basically it. Put it in that framework. But no, right now as we speak, the gatekeeper governments have said agriculture is a thing of the past. Who haven't said that? They're whispering it, but you've seen it in action. And they're focusing the ball through the middle now, the tourism middle. And because tourism is seasonal, and our agriculture is a figure, we can't feed ourselves. They don't want us to feed ourselves. They want us to depend on this food, contaminated food that's coming from outside, where they have messed up genetically to make us mindless people. So we consume these things and we work at their will, but not going to happen. So in 1997, the government developed this plan. See, in this context, a number of priority commodities were selected based on their measure of competitiveness in extra-regional, regional, and domestic markets. So we selected a number of commodities. That is why we're going to use the commodity system approach. And we looked at them based on their measure of competitiveness in extra-regional, regional, and domestic markets. Despite all these big subsidies given to these other people outside, how competitive are we in these markets? Regional, international, extra-regional, and domestic. How competitive are we? And we realize that we are very competitive once we work as a team. Okay? So a priority of crops of importance were chosen. And this included at the time, 1997, follow the timeline. In the fruits, we had mangoes, citrus, golden apple. Okay? In the root crops, we had dasheen, edo, sweet potato, yam, tanya, cassava, and arrowroot. In the vegetables, we had tomato, cabbage, sweet pepper, hot pepper. These were the priority crops. And in food crops, we had cowpea, pigeon pea, peanuts, and corn, maize. Now, unknown to the people outside of St. Vincent Grenadines, and even some people here who are so blind that they just will not see. Not cannot see, but they will not see. Sorry for that. We have been strategically, our agriculture has been strategically attacked since that time by people who pretend to be our friends and who are working for the darkness I described ago. The same people whose ancestors were the merchants of Venice who controlled slavery in every act form. From the slave trade to the actual slave on the plantation. They finance that. And these are the people who still control a lot of the major financial sectors in the world and the major international organizations. That is why His Majesty said at the United Nations that these systems must be transformed and transformed radically to help and work with humanity. Not the system, not the internet institution itself is bad, it's the people who control and operate them now. Okay? And that's where we have to go. Right. So since then, what has happened? We in this country have had a severe attack of exotic pests and diseases, starting in 1990 with the pink mealybug. Everybody knew what that was. Okay? And we were hit the hardest in the region, and it affected our export trade, especially with fruits and ornamentals, flowers and so on. Pink mealybug. Then after that, we start rolling out things. Things start rolling out. We had Moko disease, which was never in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Never in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. After Moko, we had black sigatoka disease to make sure that they put an end, or they try to put an end to our banana production and export. And they spread to a few other crops. Then we had some ticks, which had a negative impact on our livestock, especially our small ruminants. Then we had the giant African snail. And then we had the slug, the slimy slug. All these affected our trade and our production. Slug would be a nocturnal feeder, feed in the nights. So you go to sleep and it hides under dark places during the day. So you go to sleep tonight and you now transplant some seedlings and your things coming good and so on, and you think you're all right. And you wake up tomorrow and 60, 70% gone. And you're not even seeing the trail. It's only if you're very skillful and you look, you see the slimy trail and you know that this has been eaten by some nocturnal pest. And that is what happened. Then they start attacking our fruits. Remember, we were competitive in mango, citrus, and golden apple. So they start attacking our mango and our golden apple for us. And we had first time in history of this country, we had problem with fruit fly, which didn't last too long because we could take care of that. But we have the seed weevil, and we still have not recovered from the seed weevil fully. I mean, a few markets have opened up, but we still have seed weevil. Our mango texture and taste from 30 years ago is completely different than today. In those days, it had no mango in the world tastes better than a Vinci Julie or a Vinci Scuttle. None. And I have eaten mango from all over the world. You go to America, they tell you about Haitian mango. In those days, we wouldn't even feed our pigs with them. We had mango say that, I mean, people used to literally eat a pan of mango for supper and feel good. Half bucket of mango. Feel good, you don't want anything else. We had literally best tasting mangoes in the world. And whether they were full or ripe, they were useful because our full mango is what sustained the Trinidad red mango and chutney market for years, for decades, for generations. Because we had some of the mangoes with the best flesh to make these products. Okay? But they attacked them with these exotic pests, and our governments were slow and indecisive in reacting properly. And then came the one that is still persistent right now, the citrus greening disease, to lick up our citrus. So apart from losing our mangoes, our golden apples to other aspects, such as the pink mealybug, and there was another fungal anthracnose with the golden apples. We lost our citrus, even on the domestic market, to the dying of our trees. The dying of our trees, the death of our trees to the greening, citrus greening disease up to now, up to right now presently. So there we go. So it says, in the face, this is what the statement said at that time in 2000. In the face of globalization and free trade markets, the potential for production, marketing, and utilization of these commodities in St. Vincent and Grenadines can be further developed when the tried and proven commodity system approach is employed. It worked then, it can work now. So that is the system that we have to adapt in order to move forward. And that is the system which we have to use to train our people in going forward. And in that system, there are several areas. There are several areas. And once you get into those areas, at each area, there are a number of pointers to solve the problems working there at a team level. At a team level, remember the emphasis on team. It's not a chain, it's a team. Okay? So the methodology produces the following outputs. These are the outputs that the commodity system approach methodology puts out. One, a description of the commodity system, identifying the principal components of the system and the major participants and their roles, so everybody knows what they have to do, what their role is properly. It's not a guessing. Secondly, identification of the priority problems with each component of the commodity system and their causal relationships. So every component of the system, you identification of the priority problems. So things like lack of feeder roads, high feeder larceny, all these are problems. We prioritize them and we deal with them, and we say who's going to deal with them and how they're going to deal with them. So we get right down to the integrity, and we agree. That is why this thing takes a team approach, because you have to be as competitive as your opponent, who is getting grant funding, not just grant funding, subsidy from money coming from military sales and other things, and from robbing smaller countries like us, and taking that same money and subsidizing their farmers to send food to us, which is not of the highest quality. You see how the whole thing tie up? And that is what they call their value chain system. They chain us up in that foolishness. Okay? The third factor here is the identification of possible solutions to the problems and their order of priority. So we identify possible solutions. So this system will allow you to find a solution to every pollution. And the fourth aspect of this methodology is an adequate database to identify project ideas and prepare project profiles. An adequate database to identify project ideas and prepare project profiles. So you have a profile coming from a commodity, let us say sweet potato, grown in the vast areas in Vincent and Grenadines. So depends on where it's grown. You will get people coming at the first stage. You describe of the commodity system. You describe the system, you identify the principal components of the system, the producers, the input suppliers, the workers, the transporters, everything, the shippers, the exporters, the funder, everything. Everyone representatives sit down at the table so everyone know what is going on and what is required of them. So when they leave that first table, everyone, the banker expects so many farmers to come at his place or her place to get a loan funding based on, they have to ask you why, based on what was read at that meeting and based on the positive financial output that could come from it. And it's really working flows. We're not doing that these days. We're not doing that. So that is where we're supposed to go. Okay? Now, the goals. Some of the goals are establishment of farmers organization own facilities. These are facilities which should be owned by farmers organizations throughout the nation for meeting, training, and other such activities. We must do that. Farmers have nowhere to go. Another goal is the establishment of a food and agriculture financial and funding institution or bank. We came close to that in 1990. We're not going to make that mistake again and let any politician or group of politicians, regardless to who they are and where they're from, stop us from establishing that, because we are going to be working totally independent of them to establish a food and agriculture financial and funding institution. Third, a close, harmonious relationship between the producers and the marketers, especially of fresh agricultural produce. In our case, that means between the producers and the traffickers, between the golden anchor and the silver chain. We must develop a close, harmonious relationship between the exporters, the producers, and the exporters, the importers. So even between here and Barbados, we have genuine people in Barbados who want to import with us and who want to organize business on a long-term basis. Of course, we sit down with them and we work things out. And we know what they want and they know what they're getting and how we're going to produce it and when we're going to produce it. And we build that linkage strong. I'm just using this as an example. It could happen with any other country. Strong, and we make it happen because it's to the benefit of both of us. Okay? Now, I am linked with Great Grow, and Great Grow's mission is to materially improve the human condition by restoring biological health to the agricultural and other soils. And secondly, improving the quantity and quality of food derived from plants. Now, we're going to hear more about that in subsequent meetings, but those are the two major missions. Okay? And we're going to work there. So, our people, I want to say to you that we have a lot to do. It can be achieved. It must be achieved. If we fail now, we will be failing 3-4 generations down the road. And we cannot leave this work for another generation. This is our call. So let us put our hearts and our heads and our hands together and work diligently to get this done. Diligently. Because we want to be healthy. We want to be the healthiest region in the world. We have the ability, we have the resources to do that. This region of the Caribbean, we could be the healthiest region in the world. Moving from the one of the most unhealthy regions to the healthiest region in the world. And, you know, health is wealth. So we could also be, per capita, the wealthiest region in the world. Let us work to these things and make them a reality. Now, we know in doing that we have to move away from the system and find a new system. Because according to our vocalists, one of our main vocalists, Rima, line it up there, Monty, line it up. According to our main vocalist, Rima, we know that this system is a fraud. Yes, I drop it. Rima, system is a fraud. Never fire the system.
people want real, no pretend. Make your promises and nothing still not change. Why you want the people them to be a slave? Psychology they use keep we in a cage. Politicians just criminals on a bigger stage. Babylon your whole system gone down. We know the truth, not tell the people them to calm down. Cause poverty they on a rise, we see it all wrong. While your money climbing up, they sleeping and they hard wrong. Cause all of the system is a big, big fraud. We know a big, big fraud. And every day they must start. I know we can't let down with God. Because the system is a big, big fraud. We know a big, big fraud. And a long time we are one. So now we sound the alarm. We come to mash and trample every old scheme. Latest on the news, it's just another smoke screen. Puppet on the string now with the people voting. Push the dirt under the table just to keep your nose clean. Meanwhile, the things you do is contradicting. The way you play two sides always sickening. To keep the sheep powerless, you keep insisting. A real lion heart would never be no victim. Because the system is a big, big fraud. We know a big, big fraud. And every day they must start. I know we can't let them with God. Because the system is a big, big fraud. We know a big, big fraud. From a long time we are one. I know we sound the alarm. Wanna fire on your schools too. It's just another of the tools you use to further condition the youths. Live in a serious time, we got to lace with boots. Because religion when they give them in a slavery. I know the slave them turn around, say them a slavery. Some people sell out like a hot bread in a bakery. Allergic to the heap of lie, make sure not bring in near me. Because the system is a big, big fraud. We know a big, big fraud. And every day they must start. I know we can't let them with God. Because the system is a big, big fraud. We know the system. We know a big, big fraud. From a long time we are one. I know we sound the alarm. You make your promises and nothing still no change. Why you want the people them to be a slave? Psychology they use keep we in a cage. Politicians just criminals on a bigger stage. Babylon your whole system gone down. We know the truth, not tell the people them to calm down. Cause poverty they on a rise, we see it all wrong. While your money climbing up, they sleeping and they hard wrong. Cause all we know the system is a big, big fraud. We know a big, big fraud. Cause every day they must start. I know we can't let them with God. Because the system is a big, big fraud. Yeah, we know a big, big fraud. Cause a long time we have won. So now we sound the alarm. Because the system is a big, big fraud. Yeah, a big, big fraud.
Yes, people. We have to do it. We have to do it for the generation of youth like Ocean and the others. We can't let them down. We cannot let down that generation of youth right now. So in the meantime, remember to support the Hill Radio and its link sisters. Remember that. And if you want to make a small contribution to the program, link up to Big Hill Radio. And, you could even check my number there and send something either to the phone or somewhere so we could keep this program going. We have lots of things to say from now on, right through. Keep you informed of what is happening. In the meantime, have a most gracious and fun and fulfilling week. Thanks to all the listeners. Yes, this program is yours, I do it for you. I do it for the youth and those who come. And let us be happy My friends and family in Political Incorrect, I'll be again with you, LinkedIn, listening. Next day, it's your turn. Big up to Brother Emmanuel. Yes, great brother there, right? And you keep your program functioning. So, I leave you with love, as always. Until next week, stay good, be good, do good. Good over evil every time.